Hi, my name is Erica Torres. I'm the main singer and rhythm guitarist of Frequency Within.
What's up? I'm Chris Hernandez.
Hi, I'm AJ Culpepper. I'm a fourth year music industry studies student at Cal Poly.
So I am Jillian and I'm 21 years old, just newly 21.
Hello, my name is Alex. I'm a violinist.
My name is Samantha Santana, and I am a second year MIS student at Cal Poly Pomona.
Okay, my name is John Lopez. People call me Johnny. I actually prefer that. What kind of a musician am I?
My name is George Simmons. I've been playing music and been a musician since I was about 11 years old, 24 now, so what's that, 13 years?
I just knew that this is something that I've always wanted to do. My first band I joined was, well not joined, I started, was called Frantic Chaos, and it was an instrumental band. And then from there I got to fill in for a small second for this other band called Gates of Ivory. And I was exposed to playing shows in Riverside and Pomona and different surrounding cities. From that point on, when I was 18, I started, me and Oli were talking about starting a band, and we did. It was called Golly Gee Whiz. And just to fast forward, you know, we got Jeanette involved and began doing Frequency Within. So music has always been a huge part of my life.
When I was a little kid, my auntie had this friend who was in a rock band, and he was in a rock band up until recently. He had passed away. His name was Hams Torres, and I remember she would always babysit me, and in the garage he would be playing there with his band and my cousin, who's also his age, and they play guitar. And I remember just sitting there and just being like, this is cool, like hell yeah, these guys are just playing music, they're shooting the shit, and like their music. And they introduced me to Motley Crue, to the Beatles, which was amazing, to David Bowie, who was my favorite, to the Kinks, to like everybody. And I just remember hearing all this music around them. And I guess I was in high school when I bought my first bass guitar, because there was nobody else in the entire high school that played bass guitar, and we wanted to form a band. So we started a band and we called it Evan's Fingers, because our friend Evan chopped his fingers off.
I got into music, I started playing piano when I was 5 years old, and I was classically trained for that entire time up until now. With singing, I've always been singing. My family is like a family of singers, so it was kind of ingrained in me to sing. And with the ukulele, that happened after I graduated from high school, and I kind of just used that instrument to really just chill out and write really cool songs, I guess. Yeah.
My dad and mom were both in band in high school. That's how they met. But my dad played guitar and drums and trumpet as well. My mom played flute. So my dad, taught my brother guitar and encouraged us both to be in band. So yeah, my brother and I both learned to read music at a pretty young age. Yeah, it feels normal to have music in my life.
So back in elementary, everyone was made to play the recorders, so I got introduced to music that way. And the way I got into violin, selecting it, was because my mom would always play mariachi music at home. The violin stuck out to me, so I gravitated towards the violin.
I got into music actually I've always done music. I didn't know I wanted to take it seriously until probably the end of my junior year in high school. My plan all along was to do business marketing and sales, But in a way, music itself is like sales because you're kind of selling your product or persuading people on why they should work with you or listen to what you put out. So at the end of high school, I decided that my passion was music, and I decided to actually pursue it as a career. And now that I'm here, I'm learning a lot of new things about it, which is great.
Well, I've always been interested in music. Like as a kid growing up, I was infatuated with the piano, and I loved the piano. But my dad never put me in lessons. I'd always ask him, and it was always sports with him, so you know how that is. But I first got into music, I think my senior year of high school. Like I always knew I liked it, but I just never did anything with it. So I did I think it was like the school musical was like Legally Blonde or something, and I was in the ensemble. And I was told that I was a good singer. So after high school, I took like private lessons, and I got into here.
It's funny because I remember when I started off, it was just about playing songs, and just about getting a repertoire together. Because I remember being really good at Guitar Hero at one point, and then sucking at guitar. And then the whole switch happened where I wanted to learn guitar, and I was learning how to play these Guitar Hero songs on guitar instead of on Guitar Hero, and then I started sucking at Guitar Hero and got better at guitar. And then after that, once I kind of got my bearings, is once it started to become a personal outlet for me and a form of expression. Then it was easier to be that, for me.
It's definitely my emotions. I mean, my emotions run so high. I'm driven by my emotions. So I write about my situations. I write about the way I feel. I write mostly so other people don't feel alone in what I may be going through.
A lot of my inspiration actually comes from a lot of the books I read, because I find different people's narrative really useful when trying to create your own story. And I feel like the word painting and melody that I pair together with words and chord progressions, I think about that a lot as well. So sometimes I write about me, but for the most part, my music is usually about stories of other people.
Well, I think a big inspiration for me is I guess just being able to be a positive message for people that are going through some of the same things that I write about in my music. Some of the stuff I write about in my solo stuff that's coming out soon, hopefully, is just about my experience with police brutality and just abuse of power when it comes to that, and just about stress as a musician when you're dealing with a lot of people not really believing in your dream and stuff that you want to create. So it's just, the inspiration for me is just being able to be a positive message for people, saying oh, this exists, and that people, you can get through it, and there's someone. It's not just all about trying to be famous and stuff like that. It's also about just trying to give back to that same community that had you from the beginning.
I mean, we're all sensitive people, and I mean, when you make art, that's putting a bit of yourself into it. I mean, Picasso wasn't just here's a painting. He put himself, his experiences, his life, and it made Guernica. So that's what makes it special, because it's someone's opinion of something, and that's through their lens, and we buy it because we sympathize with it. We can be yes, yes, that's it.
Pablo Picasso, that guy was a mess. I mean, look at his painting.
All my art, I always say that all my art is I do for my my grandma. She was such a big part of my life, and losing her was really hard. And everything I do, whether it's directly inspired by her, is for her or not. Yeah. So I mean, yeah, everything, literally everything I do. I got a tattoo for her just recently. I don't know if you can see it. Another good experience and fun experience. Yeah. It's tough. Things like that put me in a dark place for a long time.
well, I've never been diagnosed with any type of mental health disorder, but being a music major in general is like, we all know it's a very saturated field. Like right now I have a career plan that's not really existent. So that can take a toll on you. For me, lately I've been thinking about it way too much, and sometimes I get in like a really like, oh, what's the point, like, you know, but I've just learned to breathe through it and keep on keeping on.
I guess I get more. I get angered more easily than the average person probably. Let's say for like gigs, I'm always like running late because the signal for like people who make beats, they tend to stay up really late, and then they don't wake up early. So I'm always running late for certain things because I don't get enough rest. And sometimes gigging a lot and just doing music, you don't have time to eat properly or sit down and eat, or eat at a you know, like a normal pace. So sometimes that ruins the sleeping schedule, and I'm having to like eat between gigs, and it's not always the best food sometimes. So that does affect kind of like how I feel emotionally. But I guess music kind of makes up for it. Like I can release my anger that way.
I mean, I am so, like, I can get so lost in my head and in my own thoughts that I kind of lose my own roots and my own grounding, where I have to basically recenter myself, and that's like on a weekly basis that I have to recenter myself. I am diagnosed with depression, so I know that plays a lot into it, but it also, I mean, who isn't? You know, what creative artist, creative person is not, you know, diagnosed with depression or bipolar, you know? So I think that just comes along with being an artist. And everybody romanticizes, oh, the tortured artist, but it's like, no, this sucks. This really does suck. So yeah, that definitely is something that I have to deal with on, you know, minute by minute basis.
Just a kind of the latter end is, you know, that beginning stage of like, okay, yes, I feel amazing, I feel on top of the world, I can write music, and I'm cranking it out like it's nobody's business. It's easier than breathing. And then now I go in to write a song, and I could write about so much. I mean, it's easier to write a song when you're not happy, you know, and like, I wouldn't say that I'm conventionally happy right now, you know, and I wouldn't say that I'm, you know, all out, you know, in the deepest hole I'm in. I've been in worse situations. And, you know, but at this point, it's just life is so stagnant, and it's flatlined for me to a point where you know, writing a song, it's not as easy. And plus, when it becomes your dream and you think about, you know, I want to make this my career, you start to think how, you know, well, shit, am I writing a good song? What's a good song? I thought I was writing a ton of good songs, and then now I look back at my old writing books, you know, and I think, oh man, well, that's trash. That's absolutely trash, you know. Or you get halfway through a song or halfway through, you know, a bit of lyrics, and it's like, oh, this is garbage. Let me just throw this out. It's not gonna be a good song. No one's gonna, you know.
It's very crippling. It's crippling. On our last tour, there was a point where I left the hotel room and I had to sit by myself and just cry, and it was terrible. Like, with depression, it feels like you're alone, and it can make you do really stupid things. Like, you know, within this year, this past year, I tried to commit suicide, and, you know, because I felt so alone in my own thoughts, and it also thought my self-worth was just at an all-time zero. So it's a constant battle.
So I go off and I, like, you know, take a sit down by my car, and it's like I'm like, my face is like drooling. I'm just, you know, just crying, just blowing, you know, profusely. I'm like, you know, and I told him, I got so upset, I just started yelling. I was like, what the fuck is the point of any of this?
Yeah.
What are we doing here? What is all this bullshit? You know, like, and, you know, unfortunately, that's kind of what I got from leaving the church, you know, was that sense of confidence in myself, not accrediting things to God, but accrediting things to, you know, my own hand and my own capabilities. But at the same time, I also, with losing faith, kind I lost a little bit of optimism in, you know, society, you know, and like, so that definitely shook me up like a little bit, you know. But it's kind of all just boiled down to now. I'm gonna be 25, and I've got to worry about, you know, stuff that a normal 25-year-old has to worry about. But I also just, I mean, I didn't go to school. I didn't, you know, thankfully I don't have any kids. You know, I'm not trying to be in a relationship right now. You know, so yeah, the thought of like feeling lonely comes into play every now and then, and like, you know, and I've gotten better about not treating my emotions with substances.
Mental health wise, just I want to definitely shatter the whole old-fashioned way of oh, you don't need a therapist, you have God. Well, God appoints therapist, so in between you talking to God, it's okay to talk to a therapist. So I definitely wanted to mention that, because a lot of Hispanics out there, you know, my parents being one of them, thinking that therapy is just a whole bunch of juju, but they're appointed for a reason.
But I guess the key goal is, or the key thing to take away from it is like, just set goals that you can realistically achieve, and don't give yourself an out when you're trying to achieve those goals. Because if you give yourself an out, you'll always take it.
I always try and be a very introspective person, I'd say. I always try and think about where I am and what my state is in terms of like my mental health, because I know a lot of people kind of put themselves in positions where they always want to be around people and they have that social aspect to them, but there's a lot of people in this world that kind of take that energy from you, but they don't ever give any of it back, so you're kind of dealing with a lot of you're being drained almost a little bit. And I can find myself doing that sometimes when there's days when I don't want to wake up and go to school, there's days when I don't want to wake up and do anything, I just want to lie in bed and not do anything. But music is a way that kind of allows me to have that escape, and it also allows me to vent these emotions and actually have something to say and have an outward presence of what I'm feeling, as opposed to just keeping all that stuff in. And yeah, I definitely say music is just an outlet for me to get all that stuff out. Yeah.
As a musician and artist, I've struggled so much with my emotions, but I feel so fortunate to be able to have an outlet to channel them, like music and art.
Yeah, I feel like being in a local music scene, sometimes there's like this, you can say like phantom pressure. We're not necessarily part of a major label, but we feel pressure from like social media or from like peers that we have to like put out the next music, the best music, and post all these shows. And so sometimes like those kind of people tend to forget about their own mental health, and then like they're always like breaking down, or they're sleeping late, or they get into addictions like alcoholism. And so like I feel like sometimes we need some kind of organization that like kind of sits us down and reminds us that you know our body is being affected. So like even though you're enjoying doing music, like your body's being affected at the same time. So
as far as mental health goes, I think it's really important to rely on the people that are there for you. You know, friends, family. Not everyone comes from the best home situations, so I think, you know, music itself can create a sense of community that you can't really find anywhere else. Like, while I have my family, I feel like the friends I've made here have become like a second family, because they just kind of always understand what it is I do, because they're doing the same things, or it's just very easy to communicate these things that otherwise no one else would really get. So I think music, building that sense of community, really, really does help feelings of like depression, anxiety.
Yeah, just I think I would like to say, don't compare. I mean, it's good to compare yourself to others, but in terms of like your journey and like what you're doing with your life, like don't get caught up in like a standard, or like how do I say, like you can control your own destiny. Don't let anyone tell you that you are not gonna do this because you don't have this or you don't have that. So that's what I would have to say. Believe in yourself because no one else will.
The day that I say that I don't do music anymore, I just don't. Music doesn't do anything for me anymore. Like, will be probably the saddest day of my life, you know. And like, and even more sad because if I was ever content with that fact, that would just, why am I even walking this earth?
Yeah.
I was here to play music, even if it wasn't to be successful or to have, you know, any bit of fame. Fuck that. Any bit of, you know, even if any bit of income, you know. That's not why I'm here. I am here to play music and use that as my, like, you know, catalyst from like emotion, you know, and all that good stuff.